Hey friends, it's Becky here back with Bountifully Blessed, and today we are going to have some fun making some delicious holiday treats. So if you're not familiar with Christmas crack, it is amazing and it takes no time at all and it is so addictive, hence the word crack. You're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish ingredients. Obviously, you can do a little less, you can do a little more. You're going to want some crackers. You're going to want some brown sugar. You're going to want some kind of chocolate chips of some sort, and butter. And then on top of that, some kind of goodie to put on top, whether that's nuts or peppermint, which is my favorite, sprinkles, you name it. You do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. So I've got some crackers here. And what we are going to do is we are going to get roughly 1 sleeve of crackers. And that is going to be roughly about 40 crackers is the goal. If I can open this, there we go. The struggle be real. So roughly 1 sleeve of crackers, and we are going to line our cookie sheet here. I just lined it with some aluminum foil. You can line it with parchment paper if you'd prefer. And we are just going to set these side by side and make them look beautiful. But it won't matter too much at the end of the day because when you're finished with all of the goodies, they're probably going to get moved around anyways. So don't kill yourself over making these look perfect. So we're going to get our lovely crackers out of here. Bring my trash over here. Helps if that's closer to me. All right. And we're just going to line these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've noticed that 1 sleeve tends to have about 36 crackers in it. So you can obviously fill this up if you want. I'm debating if I want to just fill this whole thing up. I might as well. I'm making this for work, so I might as well just make it nice and full. Because the stuff is so addictive, it's not going to hurt to have more. I told my husband before I made this, I said, I was like, you're going to be addicted. And sure enough, I hooked him up and he was hooked for life. Why are these different sizes? I don't think I've ever seen that. Interesting. Okay, well, we will leave it here then, because I feel a little crazy. There we go. My goodness, I thought I was going crazy there for a minute, guys. I guess it's just the way I put the foil right there. I guess I didn't press it all the way down. Oh, goodness. The struggle. There we go. Whatever. It does not need to be perfect. I was just saying that, and here I am trying to make it perfect. Okay, so we've got those. Now what we need to do is we are going to come over to our stove. Okay, we are here at our stove top, and what we need is 2 sticks of butter and 1 cup of brown sugar. So I have these 1-pound blocks of butter. So I'm actually going to need to cut this in half for it to count as 2 blocks. Ugh. Gonna look like a lot of butter here. Because, it kind of is. There we go. Plop that bad boy in here. Ugh. And I had my heat up on here so I could let it start melting quickly. There we go. Oops. I may have done that a little too fast. I don't want browned butter. Although that is what it's starting to smell like. Okay, chill. I clearly had this preheating a little too long. Okay, chill out. Smells really good though. All right, so I've got my 2 sticks of butter in here, and we're just gonna let that melt down. And then we are gonna get 1 cup of brown sugar in here. So 1 cup and 1 cup if you didn't catch those measurements. One cup and 1 cup. All right. Now I know not to preheat it so quickly. I didn't think it would be that hot by the time I preheated it, but clearly I was mistaken. Okay, so we're gonna put 1 cup of brown sugar in this, and this is basically creating our toffee. Zoop. And then we are actually going to want this to cook for about 5 minutes together. Beautiful. Okay. Hopefully it calms down now that I got the brown sugar in there. So you're just going to have a buttery, sugary mixture that'll smell heavenly. And you just want to give this time to combine, because at first it is separated until it actually cooks together. So we are going to let this cook and boil, not a rolling boil, but a light boil for about 5 minutes. So we want it to go from kind of this, it's not combined. You can tell that the butter being an oil is separated, and then this is going to combine. So we're going to set a timer for about 5 minutes and we will be back. Okay, so once you're done with your butter and your brown sugar, this is what it's going to look like. And I said about 5 minutes. I would only do about 2 to 3 once it's on a boil, and make sure that it's not overboiling. And on top of that, not only overboiling, but make sure that you're stirring it 100% constantly, because if you don't, it's going to burn. So we'll pour that over our beautiful crackers here. Hopefully I have enough, because I added a few extra crackers. Only like 5 extras though, so nothing crazy. And this is why I said don't worry about them being perfect, because they're going to end up getting moved around and shift a little bit anyways. And you're just going to make sure that each cracker is nice covered. And I have my oven preheating, or preheated at this point, to 400 degrees. And so it's really quick and simple project here, and it's so good. The longest part is the cooling process, which I usually cheat and I just stick it in the freezer until it's completely solidified. It's great. I probably should have made a little bit more, but that's okay. We're going to cover this with chocolate too, so. So now we're just going to sprinkle some chocolate chips over these. You can use, honestly, as much as you want, but I use roughly about half a bag of some semi-sweet chocolate chips. Nothing fancy. You can get fancier if you want with it. I don't. And this is just to spread out the chocolate. So you don't have to use chocolate chips if you don't want. If you have another kind of chocolate you want to use, more power to you. All right. That'll give us some good melty power. So I'm going to pop this in the oven just enough to get these melty real quick. Just enough to get a little melty, and then we will finish these up. Okay, so we just pulled them out of the oven just enough to get the chocolate nice and melty, extra melty, and then we're just gonna go over our toffee mixture and smear all that beautiful chocolate around. There we go. Look how pretty. All right, now what we're gonna do is we are going to pop this into the oven for about 5 minutes. We're gonna make sure that everything gets nice and boily. All right, so now we can get our yummies out of the oven. And we want it nice and bubbly like that. Now, you can put the chocolate on before you put it in the oven or after. I think I usually do it after, and I put it with the little toffee mixture on top of the crackers, and then I throw it in the oven first. But this time, I decided to try it with the chocolate on top to see if that makes any difference. But the nice thing is once you've got this, you want it to just kind of be nice and bubbly, especially if it's just the toffee. Then you can add whatever you want on top. So I like to do peppermint. What I actually did is it was getting a little expensive for me to just buy. I had candy canes, so it wasn't a big deal. But I was literally using all my candy canes and putting them in my blender so that I could put them on top of this. However, I discovered it was much more cost effective to get these massive, giant peppermint candy cane sticks. These are $1 at my Winco. This is one of them, and this should be plenty for this entire thing. I got 3 of them because I could get a little thing of candy canes for like $1.50, or I could do this. So this is what I did, and I just blend these up together, and then I'm just going to make these beautiful all over my Christmas crack. That was a really big piece that clearly did not get the memo. I ground this a little bit more fine than I anticipated, but that's okay. I mean, it's peppermint season, although it's peppermint season for me year-round, so I really can't speak for anyone else on that. But, I mean, it's beautiful. So the goal is to just let this sit until it's completely cooled. If you want to speed up the process like I usually do, I usually stick it in the freezer because I'm that person. Okay, I may be getting a little carried away here. Somebody stop me. Okay, and now my hand is covered in pink. But, you know, there could be worse things. So we're gonna let this cool, whether I just let it sit around for a couple hours until it's completely cooled down, or whether I decide to pop it into the freezer like I usually do. It will get nice and hardened, and then you'll be able to break it all apart like you would if it was toffee. So I'm going to let this cool a little bit because obviously it just came out of the oven. It is really, really hot. I'm going to let this cool, and then we'll be back to break these apart and put them in a cute container for work. I'm pretty stoked about these. So that is how easy it is to make some Christmas crack. And it is highly, highly addictive. Can you blame me? All right. Now for our next venture. Gingerbread cookies. Okay, friends, we are back to make our wonderful gingerbread cookies. I'm so excited. I've got the cutest cookie cutters. So I've just got this cute little standard gingerbread man, but what I'm really excited to use is this really cute gingerbread house I got. I like these because they have this little push, so it actually leaves the imprint in them, which is so nice. So if you want to decorate it, great. If you aren't going to decorate it, that's okay too. So quite excited about that. So these are going to be a nice little gift for some church members. So I'm extremely excited to get these going. One of the biggest things with gingerbread cookies is you want to make sure that they are really cooled. So these are going to actually go into the fridge for 2 hours before I actually bake them. They don't bake for very long. The longest process is waiting for them in our lovely fridge. So if you really want to hurry the process, you could throw them in the freezer for about 20 minutes, but I've had better success with putting them in the fridge for about 2 hours or overnight. You could do that too. So I've got all of our wonderful ingredients. I remember molasses. This was the first and only thing I had ever used molasses in because it's not something that I naturally went towards for any reason. I never used molasses for anything. So this was my first recipe, and I was really excited because I actually had to buy more molasses, which was quite funny. So in order for me to make this recipe. So let's get started. I'm really excited. Gingerbread cookies are special, especially around this time of year. So let's enjoy the season. Okay, so we are going to add all of our dry ingredients. So we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of flour, which that totally sounds wrong. Why am I thinking that I need 3 cups of flour? Hold on, let me double check my recipe. Okay, I wasn't totally losing it. I needed 3 cups of flour. I am just a total noob at how quickly I've written down my ingredients that I'm going to end up making a really big mistake. I think I did that the other day when I did my video on my puppy treats too. I was like, the texture of these is turning out really weird. So we'll get our 3 cups of flour here. I really would like to get a big bin that I can hold this in and comfortably put my my measuring cup in there, but I haven't gotten to a point where I can do that without making a gigantic mess, because this one does have a big enough hole for me to be able to do that, but I'm also extremely messy when I do it, so I'll just stick with spooning it in. It'll work just fine. All right, need a bit too much. I scooped in a little bit extra on the last one, so there we go. Make a little divot for that. Okay, we've got our 3 cups of flour. We are going to do 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. That's where that 3/4 kept coming from, that I kept making a giant mess. So 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Goodness. Long day at work, apparently. My brain is not functioning correctly. Okay, 3/4. So I personally am just going to use my 1/4 measuring cup, and I'm going to fill it 3 times. Just easier for me to do that than trying to stick my big one in this. So we are going to do 1. Make sure it's nice and packed. Brown sugar needs that. 2 and 3/4 cups. Beautiful. Brown sugar is just one of those that smells so good. I love brown sugar. All right, brown sugar is into our flour. Now we need our baking soda. I don't know if you've done that where the box has gotten wet on accident, but that is why mine is in a bag. And I need 3/4 of a teaspoon. So again, same thing here. I'm going to do our 3. Oops. I don't think I've ever had baking soda go hard before. This has a couple little hard beads in it. Interesting. Okay. 3/4 teaspoon. Make sure I'm not getting any of those hard pieces in there. That is very interesting. I have a feeling I may need to get a new batch. I bet you probably got messed up from when it got wet on the bottom. It probably started hardening some parts of it. That would make sense at least. All right, now we're going to do a tablespoon of cinnamon and a tablespoon of ginger. Those are 2 very, cinnamon is so good. Cinnamon is one of those smells that works so perfectly for fall or Christmas. It's just one of those smells. And ginger, this likes to kind of create little beads, so I'm going to break those apart. This is the only one I've ever had do that, which I think is quite interesting. Because it's still soft. It just comes out in like little clumps. Tablespoon of ginger. And then 1/2 teaspoon of clove. You definitely don't want to overdo it on the clove. Believe me. That stuff is potent. Beautiful. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Easy there. And then we're going to mix this all together. Once we get this all mixed, we need some more salt. Then we are going to put in our butter. Now, one thing I really need to get that I haven't had in a really long time is a pastry knife. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but they basically look like those little handheld, I don't even know what you would describe that as. They basically have a handle that's wooden. They're kind of shaped like a U, and then they have like those little slits through them. That is a pastry knife, and it's great for cutting butter into something like this. But I honestly have just started taking a knife and utilizing it, and you know, it's not ideal, but it works. We make it work. You don't always have to have all these special tools. There we go. All right, so now that we've got that all well incorporated, I'm going to break apart my brown sugar a little bit more. Just wanting to create little balls in here. The only thing I want to be creating that kind of shape in here is going to be my butter, which we'll be cutting in there. So what I'm going to do, it already smells like a giant gingerbread cookie, and I was never a fan of gingerbread cookies, okay, until I started making them. Now I'm obsessed, and they just They're just the perfect holiday smell, and they're hard not to just love. Okay, so I've got these big 1 pound blocks of butter. So I need 12 tablespoons. And so since this obviously is going to be cut a little differently, this would normally be like my 4 blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half like it's 1 block. And I basically need got to get creative, right? I need 1/2 basically. So I'm going to get one of these. I do not want to cut through the other piece if I can avoid it. So I need 1 full stick, which is 8 tablespoons, and then half of what would be another stick. Ta-da! Easy enough. All right, and we are going to cut this into our mixture here. So stick that back in the fridge. And I'm actually just going to cut this since I don't have a pastry knife or a pastry cutter, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to cut these like this, small. The nice thing is with butter, you don't have to be precise like if you were cutting anything else. And then I'm just going to make these a little extra small. Kind of the nice thing with butter. And then once you get them to where you can basically cut them in there like they're pea size amounts, you can do whatever you want to do that. So this is just an easy process. This is how I'll do my like biscuits or bread or anything that you need to like cut your dough into. This is a great way to be able to help that process if you don't have a pastry knife, which I would like to get one. It would make my job just a little bit easier, but not the end of the world. And then I'm basically just making them into little, I don't know, little baby squares. It's probably the easiest way to look at it. So cutting them one direction, making them a little bit thinner. That way I know exactly where I'm at. And then I can just kind of cut them into it a little bit, or you can use your fingers and squish them into it a little bit. So they're like pea size amounts. That's usually what I do. And it's a little bit more of a time-consuming process to do it this way, but it's the only way that you can do it if you don't already have something that's designed for that purpose. So would you rather have another gadget, or would you rather have another spot available and take a couple extra minutes with your labor of love? All right, so now that we've got that in there, we are just going to kind of squish this in there. I don't know how else to describe it. Basically creating little pea-size amounts throughout it. You can take the entire amount, stick it in there, and then I've taken my knife, like I'll take a small paring knife or something, and then I'll just kind of cut through it. But this seems to do the job a little bit better. But you can do it however you want. This process is just a little messy. Oh, you know what? And I usually take off my rings because I don't like getting them messy, and I completely forgot. So they will be getting nice and cleaned after this because a little late now. They already getting messy. That's okay. All right, and I'll show you my other way. I've just kind of spread them around a little bit. And then you could take your knife. I don't know how effective this really is, but I've done it for a long time and it seems to do just fine. So I'm going to take my whisk out here and take my knife and I'm just going to kind of slice it through it a little bit. I know. Or of course you can put them in there and then when they've got a little bit more of the dough around it, you can go around and squish them around a little bit. So there's a couple of different little random options. You do whatever you want. I honestly don't think there's really any rhyme or reason to really care that much. Just as long as they're smaller and they're kind of cut throughout it is kind of the biggest part. So that's really the only thing that matters that much. All right, now our last two steps, we just need to add our molasses and our milk. Oh, it smells so good. Smelling so yummy. Gingerbready goodness. All right, I feel confident in the size of those. I think, yeah, not too shabby. Little unorthodox, but we'll make it work. Don't always have all of the quote-unquote necessity items, but you don't always have to have them either. How do you think people did it before they had all those items, right? Right. All right, let's get all of our other couple ingredients in and we will be all set. So now that we've got that in there, we just need 3/4 cup of molasses. So let's use up the rest of this one. Molasses is so weird. It's just such a unique ingredient. It smells good, but only in things. I don't like the smell of it otherwise. I'm sure that's probably very normal. All right. We're going to put that upside down and see if we can get anything else out of that. So there's one. One of our 3/4 cups here. Let's open up our new bottle here. Maybe. I'm not very strong. There we go. Ooh. It's got a little bit more of a quick spillage to it. Isn't the saying as slow as molasses? That was pretty quick. Beautiful. Oopsies. We're creating a mess over here. There we go. All right. Now that we created a gigantic mess, there's our 3/4 cup of molasses. We are definitely going to need to clean that. And then just 2 tablespoons of milk is all we have left here, which I think I have in this one. 1 and 2. Now, one thing to know about me, I am not a fan of cookies that are not soft. So I am making a softer gingerbread cookie is my goal. I don't want them to be hard and crunchy. I am not a crunchy kind of cookie person. Never have been. I mean, I'll handle the occasional Oreo or, an occasional, cookie that has a little bit more of a crunch to it, but I don't lean towards those. They are not my preference. All right, let's get this all mixed together, and then we are going to separate these into 2 dough balls. We are going to put them in our fridge for about 2 hours with some plastic wrap around them. And then we will be able to actually form our cookies and bake them. So, trying to get this done a little early, so that way we have plenty of time to do this. All right, now that everything's starting to get well incorporated, beautiful, we can start to form our dough. All right, Hot Mess Express here. Let's move our molasses out of the way and clean it off because I made a mess. Stuff came out deceptively quick. Perfect. Ooh, that was loud. Throw our old one away. That's just funny. Okay. Now we can actually form our dough. My goodness gracious. Like I'm missing a little bit of liquid here. I probably wrote something down wrong again. How much you want to bet? Okay, now I'm doubting myself. Let me triple check my recipe. I did write this down pretty quick, so for all I know, I probably was supposed to add more milk. How much you want to bet? It was like 2 cups. Hold on, I'll be back. Okay, friends, I did do it right. It's another reason why it needs to cool in the fridge or freezer for a little bit, because it like combines, but it doesn't really combine, if that makes sense. So we're going to separate this into 2 sections as best we can. And we are going to wrap them into some plastic wrap. And then we're going to throw these in the freezer. All right. I definitely should have taken off my ring as per usual. All right. Let's grab some plastic wrap here. Hey, sweetie.
You doing videos?
Yeah. I got some gingerbread cookies.
Ooh, you making some gingerbread cookies.
Yeah, don't they smell so good?
They look messy.
They are messy, but that's just because they need to go in the freezer now, or the fridge for 2 hours now.
They smell really good, though.
They do. They
I was
smell.
just coming out. Say hello.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi, YouTube. My wife is amazing.
You're cute. Would you do me a favor, though?
Yeah, what do you need?
Would you get the plastic wrap in the bottom drawer for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I need 2 good pieces.
Well, then you should probably tear them because I'm terrible at it.
Well, I mean like large pieces. Large-ish pieces.
Do you want a giant ball of plastic wrap? Because I can do that. It's already starting to stick to itself.
That's okay. Here.
I'll
You hold it.
just do this little.
I don't need it over that. Cute.
Oh. Go on right there.
Oh, my finger! Shut up. You dork.
Okay.
There's 1 piece. And 2. Now don't say, ow, my face!
How did you know that was what I was thinking, too?
Because I know you.
Okay.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, I guess I came in at the right time.
You did, because that would have been a little messy for me to try and do.
No.
Mwah. Thank you. All right. So now I've got my plastic wrap here. Trying not to be as messy as I can avoid. So we're going to separate this as best we can into 2 sections. There we go. One thing I forget about this kind of dough is it's usually a little messy. All right. So I'm just kind of pressing it into itself as best as I can. Oh man. My ring has never been so gross. Oh goodness. Okay. And then we are just going to nicely, as nicely as we can, wrap this into a dough ball. There we go. Smells heavenly. There we go. Not too shabby. This is a nice little trick. You can put it in the plastic wrap and give it a good little press down. It'll actually combine them better together. See how it looks more solidified and not so crumbly? It's a nice little trick. Okay. See if we can get as lucky with this one. This one's a little bit smaller than I would care to have. Messy, messy. I have to go clean my rings right after this. That's like my biggest pet peeve. Cannot do that. I have professional jewelry cleaner because I can't do that. I used to work in jewelry, so a little fun fact about me. All right, we're gonna kind of use the saran wrap to press into the dough a little bit and help it combine into itself, if that makes sense, so it's not quite as crumply. There we go. All right. Same thing. We're gonna kind of let this solidify to itself just a little bit, and we are going to throw these in the fridge for about 2 hours. All right, and then we'll be back to bake these beauties after. They're going to be so cute. I can't wait. All right, we'll be back. Okay, friends, it's been 2 hours now, and we have our beautiful gingerbread dough here. You can see how beautiful that is. It's nice and cool, and we've got 2 sections here. So I'm going to keep one in the fridge for now while we roll out the other one. And I am so incredibly excited for this cute little gingerbread cutter, little gingerbread house. I've been obsessed. I mean, goodness sakes, look at how big this gingerbread person is next to this little tiny house. I could have like 2 houses for one gingerbread person. I didn't know if I was going to make a little gingerbread person or not, but we'll kind of play that by ear. Got to get a cookie sheet out. I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. The nice thing is these don't need to be baked very long. They go on a low temperature and they go in for a very short period of time. So I'm just going to get my cookie sheet here. I have no idea how many cookies this is going to make, so we are going to kind of gauge it. We want them to be about 1 inch thick. So let's make some really cute gingerbread cookies. I'm very excited for these. Especially since last year when I made them, they were really cute. But I didn't have any fun, shapes yet. Because baking is one of those things that I've never really cared as much about, what things look like. And so I've been getting into that a little bit more, which I've been loving. So now I'm getting into the design of things, we'll say. So this is going to be sticky. So I do have my flour, is what you saw me get out. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that here on my counter, because what kind of baker would I be if I didn't at least make a giant mess with some flour on my counter, right? Just teasing. All right, so we've got our beautiful dough here. Just smelling it is like, smells like Christmas. Oopsies. Forgot to flour this. That's my bad. I'm already failing at life, guys. Just kidding. This dough is very, very sticky. All right. And we want it to be about 1 inch thick. One thing that I can say, gingerbread dough has always been very hard to work with. This is breaking apart more than I'm used to. That's okay. We'll make it work. Hopefully. All right, so we're looking for about 1 inch thick or so. I obviously want to get as much use as I possibly can out of this. All right, let's go for a cute little gingerbread house. Oh, it's so cute. Oh my word. Is that not the cutest little gingerbread house ever? Oh, it's so cute. Oh my word. I love it. I absolutely love it. These are going to be the cutest little gifts. Oh my word. That makes my heart so happy. They're just so cute. I love these cookie dough cutters that I've gotten. These cookie cutters that I've gotten. I've got these from my local Michael's over the course of just the last couple years. And I've gotten them on sale, so they were like a couple bucks normally. And I think I got this one last year right after Christmas for like, I don't know, $1, maybe $2. But I'm fairly certain that I didn't even pay $2 for it. So cute. I'm paying extra special care with making sure that they get that beautiful imprint in them, so when they cook, they're gonna look like little houses. Oh my word. That just makes my heart so stinking happy. Okay, what I don't want is I don't want there to be a lot of flour on the actual imprints of them. That's fine, but trying to avoid that, although it could kind of look like snowy houses. That could actually be really cute. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to smash this all back together as best as I can. That's why it's really important to chill this dough, because it has a hard time staying put together. So we are going to form the rest of our cute little gingerbread houses. We're going to see how many we have. Hopefully I have enough for my gifts. If not, I may need, to make another batch. So I'm going to keep forming these beauties, and I will be all back when I'm ready to pop these in the oven. But it's very important to chill these, because this stuff just falls apart really, really easily. I forgot how easily it falls apart. So, okay. Anywho, I will be back after I've made a bigger mess. Okay, friends, it is extremely hot in this kitchen now, but oh my word, I'm obsessed with how stinking cute these gingerbread cookies turned out. Look how adorable. Are these not like the cutest little gingerbread houses you ever did see? Oh my heavens, they're just so cute. And I got these cute little canisters that they're gonna go in for my lovely church folks. Look at how cute these are. Little gingerbread men canisters. Oh my goodness, I think this one has the wrong lid. I thought it was odd that it wasn't fitting, but now that makes sense because that lid is not correct. Okay, I'll have to make sure that all of them are like that. So, look at how cute. This is a cute little canister. I'm going to put these in that look like little gingerbread men. And then I can label them. But I'm very excited for how cute these are. So, I've got my cute little tin. I'm going to make these all adorable. So I can put my cute little treat together here. Kind of obsessed at how adorable these are. And plus, if you've never had a homemade gingerbread cookie, you are missing out. You need to make them. They are so delicious. There's something so special about gingerbread around this time of year. Like I said, I've never been a huge gingerbread fan, but it's hard not to be when you make it yourself. So there's my lovely gift. Oh, it's going to be so cute for each family. And I'm going to wrap it all cute with little names and stuff on it. And I think it'll just be so lovely. I'm obsessed. It's so cute. My little gingerbread and my snowy cookie cutter. It's covered in flowers, so it's a snowy one. But there's how cute this is. I'm so obsessed. And I think these will be wonderful little gifts. So, oh my goodness. I'm exhausted. So I'm going to get myself all clean up my kitchen as best as I can because I have completely just destroyed it. And then we are going to enjoy giving these out. And it'll just be wonderful. So they taste delicious. They've already been wife and husband approved. And so when you bake them, before I forget, I put them on 350, but I ended up doing these ones for about 7 to 8 minutes instead of 10, just because I don't like crunchy cookies. And so even though they were supposed to be soft already, I put them in for less time specifically because of needing to make sure that they weren't too crunchy. So I had some of them that turned out a little bit thinner. And so if I had when I was rolling out the last little bit of the dough, I just gave them a little less time so that way I didn't burn them or overcook them. And I roughly got from each of those dough balls that we made, I roughly got about 30 cookies from each one of those, give or take, obviously depending on how thick you really make them and consistency. That's a big one. So by the end of it, I was rolling out this little teeny tiny piece of dough and had a cookie that wasn't even worth baking because it was so thin. But those turned out beautifully, so cute and so delicious. So those will be a wonderful Christmas treat for my church folks. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I pray that you are bountifully blessed. I'll see you next time.